Morning, my dear students, and welcome back to the English online classes. I hope you all might have gone through the videos related to this chapter uploaded by me earlier. My dear students, while I am coming to the concluding part of this chapter, let me have a quick recall of what we have done in the previous videos. This chapter, it is about a family which comprises of a 37-year-old businessman, his wife Mary, and his two children, Jonathan and Susan. They all set out on a sea voyage to duplicate the journey which was done some 200 years ago by a famous explorer named Captain James Cook. And for this, they have practiced a lot and they have tried to bring perfection in their sea surfing skills. They set out on a journey on this journey in their boat named Wave Walker, which was built by the professionals and was 23-meter long and a 30-ton hulled beauty. Basically, the first part of their journey. Now, their journey was supposed to be of around 1,05,000 kilometers and was supposed to take 3 years, and they have completed the first part of this long journey very smoothly and reached Cape Town. Now, when they were leaving Cape Town, they were supposed to enter into the roughest sea, that is the Southern Indian Ocean, and because of that reason, they hired two people, Larry and Herb. Then they set out on their journey from Cape Town. The very second day after leaving Cape Town, the weather became very different, very atrocious, wild, and violent. The wind was very strongly blowing, and the waves were very high. And then they celebrated December 25th happily with a Christmas tree, hoping that the new year is going to bring good news for them. But it never happened in that way. Instead, on the very morning of January 2, the waves became even more gigantic, and they decided to drop their storm jib because with every wave, with each wave, the stern of the ship used to go up, and it was like only water which they could see right in front of their eyes. So they dropped the storm jib, and they double lashed everything with a heavy mooring rope which was tied to the stern. And after that, they just waited. And you can say that the disaster knocked at around 6 p.m. the very same January 2nd. In the evening, the wind dropped and suddenly the sky turned very dark. They thought that maybe the cloud has turned dark. But when the narrator looked carefully, he was totally shocked because never in his life he had seen such a big wave which was towering, which was right on the top of the ship. And the tip of that wave seemed very dangerous, like as if though it is going to break open everything. And what he thought of, or you can say that his thoughts took shape, and really the roar of the water changed into thunder, and then there was a loud explosion as something hit the deck. Now, what was that something? That something was a torrent, a big wave of green and white colored water, and then it just came and it broke over the deck, and the result was that his head smashed into the wheel, and he just went flying overboard and sank down into the ocean water, and he felt that he's going to die, and it was very quiet and calm. Then suddenly, unexpectedly, his head popped out of the water, and he found that the wave walker was sinking, capsizing right in front of his eyes, its mast being horizontal to the water surface. They don't know what happened. Maybe a big wave came and it pushed the wave walker from down, and automatically the wave walker became straight on the surface of the water. And the result was that the jacket which he was wearing, it became the rope which was tied to the jacket. It became suddenly tight, and he again went flying in the air in and fell on the wave walker's main boom. Then after that, he had been tossing over there from one side to the other side, and as a result, he had left ribs cracked, broken teeth, mouth filled with blood. but still he gathered his strength and caught hold of the wheel so that he can line up the stern of the wave walker for the next wave. It was all water everywhere, and he knew it very well that there was water all over in the ship, but still he cannot do anything right now. At that time, suddenly his wife appeared over there, and she said that they were all sinking and the decks are smashed and they were full of water. He asked her to take the wheel and he went to inspect the things. He found that Larry and Herb, they were pumping the water out. Everything was floating in the water which was there inside the ship. Then somehow he reached to the children's cabin. He found that they were safe, but Sue was having a bump on her head. Maybe her head banged to the wall or something. But he never had the time to look out for that. So he just took the hammers, screws, and a canvas, and he went to the starboard side, which was bulging, which has bulged inward, and water was coming inside with every wave. And he spread the waterproof hatch over there and screwed it up with the hammer. And then now also water was hitting, but maximum water was falling back into the ocean. Pumps were not working at all. Hand pumps and electric hand pumps, nothing was working somehow. And moreover, the main anchor, the dinghies, and all, they all had fallen, they all had wrenched overboard because of the wobbling of the ship. And then he suddenly remembered an electric pump which was there in the chart room. He connected, and the water started flowing out. Whole night went off in this only, and even the mayday calls were also not responded. Sue's head had swollen very badly meanwhile, and she was having blackened eyes and even a deep cut in her arm. When asked, she said that she didn't want to bother him when he was trying so hard to save everyone. This is the story of January 2. January 3 morning, they have pumped out lots of water, means maximum of water they have pumped out, and now they could take little rest, at least turn by turn. And he went to introspect, or you can say that he went to inspect the rest of the part of the ship, and he found that the condition was very bad. In that condition, they could not reach the next destination, that was Australia. So he started looking out for the next nearest destination, that was two islands. Out of that, one was Isle Amsterdam. It was a scientific base for of the French people, but it was really difficult for them to actually search it out because it was like a pinprick, and with the condition of the wind and the waves, and as well as the wave walker, it was really next to impossible for them. This is the story of January 3rd. January 4th. 36 hours passed. They had been pumping continuously, and now the water has come to only few centimeters. They just have to work to take out the water which was coming in, and immediately they have to put the water out. But they could not hoist the sail and all, because if they do so, chances of pulling out of the middle part of the ship was there by the main mast, because wind was blowing very strongly. They thought that everything might turn good. They had their first meal after 2 days, and then they thought things will turn good. But at around 4 o'clock in the evening, again the sky turned black. Weather was deteriorating, and by the morning of January 5th, condition was really desperate. And then he went to the children, and John asked him that whether they are going to die. What a father will reply. Before he could give an answer, John gave him a very mature type of an answer, like he was trying to console his father. He said that, "Don't worry, we are not afraid of dying if we can all be together, you, Mummy, Sue, and me." Then he decided he will do everything that he could do to save his family, and he came out and he prepared a temporary anchor with the help of two 22 barrels of paraffins and a nylon rope. That evening, he and his wife, holding each other's hand, they were sitting down because they felt that the end of theirs was near, and now there is no chance for them to survive. This is what we have done in the previous video. Let's continue further. But Wavewalker rode out the storm, and by the morning of January 6th, with the wind easing, I tried to get a reading on the sextant. Back in the chart room, I worked on wind speeds, changes of courses, drift, and current in an effort to calculate our position. The best I could determine was that we were somewhere in 1,50,000 kilometers of ocean looking for a 65-kilometer wide island. Okay, on in the evening of January 5th, there was no hope. But January 6th brought good news for them. The wave walker rode out the storm, and by the morning of January 6th, the wind was slowing down. It was becoming calm. Then he read out the sextant, the various paraphernalia that they have to use while sea journey is made. Then in the chart room, he checked out the position of the current wave, wind current and waves position, the drift and all those things, and to find out that exactly where they were. So he found that they were somewhere in a area in a wide ocean of around 1,50,000 kilometers, and they were looking out, means that next island which they were looking out, it was of only 65-kilometer wide. So it was really like searching a pin in a heap of hay. While I was thinking, Sue, moving painfully, joined me. The left side of her head was now very solemn, and her blackened eyes narrowed to slits. She gave me a card she had made. On the front, she had drawn caricatures of Mary and me with the words, "Here are some funny people. Did they make you laugh? I laughed a lot as well." Inside was a message, "Oh, how I love you both." So, this card is to say thank you and let's hope for the best. Somehow, we had to make it. While he was just thinking what to do, how to search that 65-kilometer wide island in that wide ocean of 1,50,000 kilometers, at that time Sue reached there with a card in her hand. She prepared it herself. In the front, she had drawn the caricatures. Caricatures means cartoon pictures of him and his wife, means of her mother and father. And she had written over there, "Have you ever seen such funny people? They make me laugh. And do they make you laugh?" And also inside, very beautifully, she had written that she loves both of them, and she had prepared this card to say thank you and she hopes for the best. Seeing this, her father got a kind of a boost up, and he thought that he need to do something about saving everyone. I checked and rechecked my calculations. We had lost our main compass, and I was using a spare which had not been corrected for magnetic variation. I made an allowance for this and another estimate of the influence of the westerly currents which flow through this part of the Indian Ocean. When he decided, he checked and rechecked the calculations, and he found that already the main compass, you might be knowing what the compass is, that which tells the direction, no, that they have lost already. And the one which was in spare, its magnetic variation is not been checked or corrected, means it was not correct. I made an allowance. He says that and then he found that according to what calculations he had been making about the western currents, the current which was flowing from the western direction, he found that where they are supposed to move and what could be the basic estimation to be made by him. About 2 p.m., he went on deck and asked Larry to steer a course of 185 degrees. If we were lucky, I told him with a conviction that I did not feel, he could expect to see the island at about 5 p.m. After making his calculations around some 2 o'clock, 2 p.m., he went to Larry, who was controlling the wheel, and he said to him that you turn the direction of the ship somewhat 185 degrees. And also he said that if they are lucky, chances are there that they might be able to see the island at about 5 p.m. And then at that time, when he said this thing to him, he himself was not very sure that it might be happening. And because of that reason that is been given, I told him with the conviction here means he was not himself very sure, that confidence was not there in him that it might work. Then with a heavy heart I went below, climbed on my bunk, and amazingly dozed off. When I woke, it was 6 p.m. and growing dark. I knew we must have missed the island, and with the sail we had left, we couldn't hope to beat back into the westerly winds. After instructing Larry, he went back to his cabin to have a nap, and surprisingly, he just went into a slumber sleep, deep sleep, and then around some 6 p.m. he got up. You remember what he said, Larry? That if they are lucky, around 5 o'clock they will be able to reach the island. And it was now 6 o'clock. And nobody woke him up. And it already turned dark outside. So he understood. They had missed the island. And now it was very confirmed that with the type of sail that was left with them, there is no hope for them to beat the westerly currents. At that moment, a tousled head appeared by my bunk. Can I have a hug? Jonathan asked. Sue was right behind him. Why am I getting a hug now? I asked. Because you're the best daddy in the whole world and the best captain, my son replied. When he was just thinking about all those things, suddenly a tousled hair means like not been combed for a long time, no? That's what is called as tousled head. So a tousled head appeared by his bunk, and then he been asked by that tousled head owner. Who was that? It was his son Jonathan. That can he get a hug? Means he wanted to hug his father. And Sue was standing right behind him. Why am I getting a hug now? I asked. He asked him that why you want to hug me? So to that Jonathan said that because you are the best daddy and the best captain in the world. Not today, John, I'm afraid. Why, you must be, said Sue in a matter of fact voice. You find the island. What? I shouted. When he said that you are the best daddy and the best captain, he said that no, beta, not today. It's not today, my son. At that time, Sue, she said in a matter of fact voice, means like making someone understand no? About the thing. And she said that, why do you say so? You are, because you found the island. And that was a sweet surprise for him, and he shouted, what? Why, you must be. It's it's out there in front of us. They chorused, us big as a battleship. When he shouted, what? They said that, see, go out and see. The island is right in front of our eyes, and it is as big as a battleship. I rushed on deck and gazed with relief at the stark outline of Isle Amsterdam. It was only a bleak piece of volcanic rock with little vegetation, the most beautiful island in the world. Then, hearing this, he just ran to the deck, and right in front of his eyes was the stark outline. Means it has turned dark now, so just a rough outline of the island could be seen of Isle Amsterdam. It was just like a piece of volcanic rock with very less vegetation, no greenery, nothing. But still, according to the narrator, it was the most beautiful island he had ever seen. We anchored offshore for the night, and the next morning, all 28 inhabitants of the island cheered us. They helped us ashore. That night, they put their anchor there and they just waited for the morning to come up. And the next morning, the 28 people who lived in that island, all the 28 came there to receive them. With land under my feet again, my thoughts were full of Larry and Herbie, cheerful and optimistic under the direst stress, and of Mary, who stayed at the wheel for all those crucial hours. Most of all, I thought of a 7-year-old girl who did not want us to worry about a head injury, which subsequently took 6 minor operations to remove a recurring blood clot between skin and skull, and of a 6-year-old boy who was not afraid to die. My dear students, this last paragraph is the most beautiful one, because you can say that it's the extract means the sum up of the entire chapter, because when we people talk about optimism, it brings brightness in the life of a person. So here the narrator says that the moment he felt the land under his feet, a thought of line passed, and in that thought came many people, those people with whom he had spent those a few very you can say the tough time, the period of tension, stress, and Larry and Herbie was there, who like mad people had been pumping out the water, and they had been very optimistic even in that stressful situation. Then he talks about his wife. He says that my wife Mary, who had been there by my side in that crucial time, that severe time, that crisis was going on, and she was just there by my side looking at the control of the wheel. Then he talks about Suzanne, the 7-year-old girl who had terrible head injury, but she did not want to worry them with her head injury. You know, her head injury was how bad? It took around 6 minor operations, because even after the first operation, the blood started clotting between her skull and skin. You just imagine a 7-year-old girl, she underwent 6 operations, though minor, but 6 operations she went through, because the blood was going on clotting between her skin and skull. And above all, that little one, that 6-year-old Jonathan, who was like a booster for the entire family, who said to his father that don't worry dad, if we all are together, we are not afraid to die. From the mouth of a 6-year-old child, it was really an extraordinary statement being made. So, my dear students, this brings us to the end of the chapter. And remember one thing, life is not bed of roses. It will bring in front of you challenges daily in different forms. So, be optimistic, believe in yourself, and above all, believe in those people whom you call a family. They will always stand with you to fight against all the odds of your life. Coming to the questions which are given over there, let's have a quick discussion of it. Understanding the text. List the steps taken by the captain. Two suppositions are there. To protect the ship when rough weather began. To check the flooding of the water in the ship. For the first one, to protect the ship when rough weather began, you will be taking that particular point which is given before the dawn of January 2, not before the dawn, by the dawn of January 2, when the waves became very gigantic and they found that the ship was going through the terrible waves. At that time, they dropped the storm jib, they double lashed everything using a heavy mooring rope. That is what the points that must be mentioned over there in this question. The second one, to check the flooding of the water in the ship. After the narrator was told by his wife that they were sinking, there was all water, and he came out, he took hammer, some screws, and canvas so that he can spread that canvas over the broken side, and then because of that, the water stopped coming inside too much and was getting deflected or getting thrown back into the ocean. That's the point which is to be written in this question. Describe the mental condition the voyagers on 4th and 5th January. This you have to write on your own. What you feel, what was the mental state, what is their state of mind on January 4th and January 5th. Don't forget points like their happiness was short-lived, weather became terrible by evening of January 4th, then January 5th, the condition became even more worse than Mary and the narrator holding each other's hand, expecting the end to approach fast. All those points you must be including in this. Coming to the third one, describe the shifts in the narration of the events as indicated in the 3 sections of the text. Give a subtitle to each section. Now you might be thinking that where are the sections? You haven't gone through the section. If you see carefully, the beginning of the chapter, that is in July 1976, from there till leaving Cape Town and celebrating Christmas, first section. Then from the dawn of January 2 till the morning of January 6, it's the second section, in which the journey of January 2, 3, 4, 5 is mentioned very clearly. And the last section will be from morning of January 6 till the end, means till this particular paragraph. You just have to prepare a summary, short summary of what you have studied in those particular paragraphs, what you have understood from those paras, and then you have to give a heading to each section. Coming to talking about the text, what difference did you notice between the reaction of the adults and the children when faced with danger? Definitely the reactions will be different. The adults, they will try to fight against it in their own way, like Larry and her pumping the water out. Narrator, even after having the broken ribs and broken teeth, blood, was ready to take over the wheel. Mary, even in that condition also, she was ready to listen and do what her husband was asking for. And children, definitely their way is different. They were trying to enlighten the situation, and they were trying to lessen the worries of their parents, like by telling, "Need not worry, if we all are together, we are ready to die." Then Sue preparing the card and giving with the caricatures of her mother and father, saying that she loved them and she hoped for the best. So these are the ways they have tackled the situations in with regard to the context of the story. How does the story suggest the optimism helps to endure the direst stress? For this question, I won't say much, but this last para is your answer. So turn it into your own words. Next one is that what lesson do we learn from such hazardous experiences when we are face to face with death? Fight, be optimistic. This is what very important lesson that we learn. It is not, as I said, that life is going to be bed of roses. Every day, new challenges. And due to these new challenges, definitely we have to learn to face them. We cannot run away from that. And for that, it is necessary that we believe that good will happen. We hope for the best. With regard to the fourth question, why do you think people undertake such adventurous expedition in spite of the risks involved? I will leave it to you. You may prepare on your own. Very soon you will receive the PDF of the extra questions related to this chapter. And I hope that as I have instructed you in the previous some video, that I need you to respond to the message which I have sent through my WhatsApp number, and I have received some responses, but from 11th Commerce it is very minimum. So once again I am repeating my WhatsApp number, and I hope that through this video, though you people might have filled the Google form, but still if it is possible, you may please contact me directly by sending a message of your name and WhatsApp number. That's all. Nothing. You just send me a message and tell me to save that particular number as your WhatsApp number, because remember, this number is necessary for the online examination. So you cannot keep your parents' number in case if your parents are working people, they might not be available at the scheduled time of examination. So keeping in mind all those things, I hope very soon you will be contacting me at the earliest within this 2 or 3 days. My number is 9755 787 454.